Hello to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And before we get in this show, I just want to say that there's Pizza Boys is still going with issue 10's Kickstarter. At some point, I'm afraid I'm going to say issue 11, just have it totally all mixed matched up. But issue 10 is up there. You can go out there, get the issue, get a t-shirt to go along with it. Still running, still going as this thing kind of goes up. But yeah, come check out the fun. Skateboarding meets video game addiction, good times. What's not to like?
I already read the early draft, and yeah, it was pretty funny, and it also, it's like, this is very true. This is very true. It almost seems like the PSA of Pizza Boy issues, but at the same time, not ridiculously preachy. Not like an after-school special level.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird for, like, someone who, like, yeah, just, it's like, you kind of throw this, like, video game addiction, it's like, I can see it kind of almost going where someone's like, yeah, you touched on that there. I'm like, well, I just thought more of it kind of funny, but I guess, yeah, it could be. Some people could be serious, you know?
Well, it's one of those things where it's, I mean, for people who do know the comic, it's one of the last places you'd expect it to be like, hey guys, sometimes you just got to put the controller down. It's one of the last things, but it's not done in that, like, you know, Hillary Clinton in the 90s kind of way. It's more like, or not even 90s, like when they're going against San Andreas and all that. Nothing like that. It's literally, it's more all played for laughs, but it works for the characters and the way they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, I was reading it like, oh, I totally, because, you know, for those who don't know, Pizza Boys is quasi-autobiographical. And reading it, I'm like, oh, this happened. Well, this would happen if I had a little bit more of, like, anger issues, definitely, you know, so.
It's that kind of thing that's like, play video games as much as you fucking want. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to be that person who, like, only plays video games. You're like, hey, dude, you want to come fucking shoot a movie? And then, like, next thing you know, it's like, oh, yeah, I fucking, like, decided to go play some Madden and just not come on over and help. And you're like, oh, well, fuck you.
Well, adding Madden to it adds a × 2 to it, really.
It really does. Once there's that Madden in there, you're just like, oh, I get it.
Not saying if you like Madden, you're an asshole, but people, I'm gonna be 100% honest, and people may have listeners who are like, fuck you, dude, but people who only play Madden, I'm sorry, it's boring as fuck.
Well, let's say, it's like, I'll say this.
Boring as fuck. They're boring as fuck if that's all they play video games for is Madden. It's like there's a million things you could be doing. You could be playing football in real life.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to put that many hours into it. I mean, because here's the thing. You know what I mean? It's like, well, one's like, I like a good football game. Don't get me wrong. It's fun. You know, if you got a couple buddies on over, you can have a great time. But
it's not a game.
But yeah, but it's not a real game.
It's not a real game.
It's not a real game. You know, you want to hit the ball back and forth and stuff. You know, it can be fun. It can be fun, but it's not a game. But it's just, to me, it's like, what's like, I also got like my Sega kind of thing, because the second that fucking EA came out and they're like, no, Sega, you can't make football anymore. And no, Midway, you can't make football either. Only EA can make football. I was like, fuck Madden. Fuck them, those stupid cocksuckers. They think they're the only ones who can make football? Fuck that shit. That's how I feel. I stand by my Sega. I stand by my Hedgehog.
I like how, I do like how this kind of devolved into us talking about, like, oh yeah, people who only play Madden. Here are all like these people who like fucking football. Anyway, we're gonna talk about Pokemon today.
That's where I felt like this speech almost like, I was like, we're at least probably in a good territory, because, you know, the people that like would be like, oh, fucking nerd fucking talking Pokemon and shit, like they should be out there throwing the pigskin around, like, I'm pretty sure they're not tuning into the fucking Pokemon Adventures Volume 2 podcast.
More than likely. You never know. You might like, all right, let me just hit shuffle and see what we land on. But
it's more just
football's fun. I like football. That's I just don't. Even the game, even like, you know, video game, it's fun. It's just I don't get people that's all they play. There's so many people I know, all they play is Madden. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
There's some whatever.
That's just the ultimate. To me, I always consider that like that's the ultimate casual gamer. It's just the person that like they buy a system for like Madden and Call of Duty, and that's it. And not saying there's anything wrong with those games. I'm not saying they're not fun, but it's just one of those ones like, bring some variety into life is all I'm saying. I don't know how we all got all off track there in a rant of sorts, but variety is where it's all about. And god damn it. See, it's like Pokemon. You know what I mean? We have choices of how many stories we can go through of Red and Blue. And this right here in Pokemon Adventures is the top tier Pokemon story you could ever have. Shit, I'm reading this now. It's like one of those ones like. It's one of those comics where, like, you know, like how we said that in the Mario Brothers, like the anime from like '85 or whatever it was, or '83, and we're like, shit, if this was here when we were kids, like, we would have just like ate this thing up. I feel like that almost with this Pokemon comic too, because I still want to say this came out just a hair after, like the '90s Pokemon. Like I want to say it almost might have, by the time they were printed. It was just like maybe gold and silver, or just a little bit late in the game of like being able to catch this first wave of it. But I kid you not, coming back to it even later, it doesn't matter. It's like one of those ones, like, it's like taking you back to like the best times of life, and it's like, oh, here's a fresh like take of like what you used to do.
Sorry, you blinked out there for a second, but it was one of those things with this comic. I'm not sure if this is just reiterating what you said, but I'm kind of glad I didn't read it. I didn't read it when I was younger. I'm glad I read it now. I know I came across one or two issues and just kind of flipped through it. Like, this looks interesting. Looks kind of different, but this, you know, because by that point you're used to the anime and all that. But I'm glad I'm coming across it now, because it's like, yeah, sure, it's still a kid's book technically, but at the same time, it kind of returns that same feeling you had when you were first playing Red and Blue. But the story's actually good. It's actually a good story. And it doesn't feel like it's forcing down the kiddie humor or the you know, all the negative aspects of the old anime show. So something about, I'm kind of glad, because I feel like if I read this when I was younger, and then when I went to my phase, like, oh, Pokemon's fucking lame, I feel like I probably would have roped this into it. And I'm glad that I didn't read it then, and I'm reading it now, because it's just kind of like this thing, like, because every so often you'll read something that's trying to do nostalgia baiting, and you can kind of see through it. But this is kind of that feeling you want. It's not nostalgia baiting. It's hitting that nostalgia trigger, but it's also at the same time not like it feels more organic, because it actually did come out at that time, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think that's the thing, is because this thing is like, you know, literally ground zero Pokemon, like day one, like as the explosion's happening. Like, that's where this, like, takes place at, you know? Especially if it's, like, if you're in Japan, shit, you could have been reading this before you even touched the game, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's just the thing, is I'm reading this comic, and I kid you not, it's like one of the best comic book experiences I've had in such a long time. And it sounds so weird to say it, because I know there'd be somebody out there be like, oh, but these top-tier Image books, it's like, fuck it, I'll take the Pokemon book any day. I kid you not, I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, granted, Pokemon's like my favorite kind of universe. Like, it's one of those ones, like I said, if you could go to any world and like live there, I always have said Pokemon. You know what I mean? I know you got Final Fantasies, and you got your Zeldas, and you got your Resident Evils if you're crazy and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, I love a Resident Evil game, but like I wouldn't want to go there exactly. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like it's gonna pan out well. I'll end up being like Marvin or something like that, and just be like fucking laying there waiting to die, and hopefully get a bite out of Leon.
Maybe a day pass with that one. No, but like. I guess the thing with that is, I'm reading it now, because when I was a little kid, when I was like in like the, not little kid, but I guess when I was like in the 5th grade, I remember wishing like, man, I wish these were real and I can go outside and catch them. And, you know, as a kid, there'd be that part of you that would just like, you know, at the time when I was younger, at this point in time, my grandparents had a houseboat at Lake Shasta, and we would go there all the time. And at this point, like 5th grade and all that.
You're hoping your grandpa was going to be like, come here, Ryan.
Something I want to show you. And just throws out, it's like a Mankey or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you ever want to be a Pokemon master? Like, just imagine that if your grandpa's just like, oh yeah, you know, when I was younger, I used to train Pokemon.
Yeah. Now, if any liberals give you any shit, use a Mega Punch on them. Like, oh, there's the generation divide. No, but it's one of those things, though, where I remember being a kid, just going out there, like, you know, you're just being fresh into this thing, and just being like, oh man, it'd be so cool just to wander off into the woods, make new friends, and then like battle other people, you know, just that whole, you know. And reading this, like, now it's kind of weird. That went away, and now I'm like, I went back playing Sword and Shield, because of that expansion again, and then I'm like, you know what? I kind of, you know, the idea of not having to work and just get on a bike and go through the wilderness and like, this is how I make my money. I just, you know, I battle these things, but it's not cruel or inhumane. They like it. They think it's fun. So, you know, it all pans out. You know? Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like, that's sounding more and more appealing by the day.
It's funny how you say that feeling went away, because to me, that feeling has never gone away. In the back of my mind, I always like to assume that one day I'm going to fucking just jump on a plane and fly over to fucking Japan, and it's just going to be just like Street Fighter, and I'll be like Ken training there. The poor version of Ken, but Ken nonetheless. You know, I'm always looking forward to, because like that, I think there's that thing that like, it comes from the Japanese culture that at 10 years old, your life fucking starts an adventure. Yeah. You get fucking dropped off on an island and you gotta fucking battle it out and shoot a Hadouken at like a deer and catch some wild Pokemon, and next thing you know, you find a sword out in the woods and everything starts to come together because you're the chosen one now somehow, some way, and lo and behold, 20 years later, I'm still waiting for that moment to happen, but...
You, 30-year-old boy.
Here, grab this sword. Go save Princess Zelda. Oh, okay.
And I guess the thing with this is, like I say, the feeling, I guess Pokemon specifically, that feeling went away. I mean, the idea of, like, wanting to go and just explore and all that never really left. But I guess the idea of, like, oh, I remember why I liked this so much as a kid. It's kind of come back to me. And it's also using characters I recognize and all that. And we're just jumping on to Volume 2 of the manga, which we did the last volume, I think, 2 episodes ago, the first volume.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say I like this one when it opens up, because going forward, they actually bring in a second rival for Red. They bring in Green. And I'm wondering if she is supposed to have green hair or, like, brown hair, because it's all in black and white. But either way, I'm like, okay, that's a way for them to get in all 3 starters, also at the same time to acknowledge the different colors for the different regions and generations. And I kind of like what they do with this character, because she is, like, they do make her look to, like, kind of like a cute anime girl, but not to that fan servicey level, and not to that, because the whole thing is she plays it off like she's super innocent, but she's a dirty, lying, dishonest thief. But for whatever reason, she's not hateable.
Yeah, well, that's why she's literally a super con artist, but you almost kind of go along with, like, sort of Green in the same way. Like, you almost, like, don't trust her, sort of want to just slap the shit out of her and, you know, call it good, right? Just fucking bury her out in the woods, be like, don't you fucking ever, like, sell me this shit again. Because, you know, Red, of course, buys into it. She's like, hey, I got all this great stuff for $6,000. You know what I mean? You could be a fucking Pokemon master. And I love how it's like a samurai.
She's being super flirty, too.
Yeah, well, she's doing that, too. She's doing that kind of, like, I guess you say that classic, like, she's like, well, you know, just stroking it and, like, Red, like, you know, if, you know, $6,000, not that much, you know, it really helped me out, you know. You know, it's not that big of a deal. You want to be a Pokemon master, right? You know? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, you look cute. Oh, look at this. And you even see the Pokemon have this look on their face like, you stupid fucking bitch. Like,
they all look like, they like, none of them trust her. But they're like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, just one of those things. And you know what's interesting about this Green thing is because I remember at one point somebody bringing up something like, oh, there's a Green, it's like, that's a girl. And it's like, what? Like, and like, when I thought the first, I was like, well, maybe if you get Green, like in Japan, you actually you play as a girl, because at that point that was a radical idea. We didn't have Pokemon Crystal yet that let you have that choice.
Yeah.
You know, back in the 90s, you could only be a man. Just that's how it was.
It's a man's world. What can you say? Out there catching Pokemans.
Yeah, because I remember that when Crystal came out, it was like that was the first thing. It was like, dude, I can be a girl. It's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna be a fucking girl. And I've been a girl ever since. Sounds fucking weird. ever since Pokemon Crystal, I've been a girl ever since. That's what made me want to change. But in every single one of my Pokemon games, I've always been a girl ever since that. It's like, you give me the fucking choice, like, yeah, I want to be a girl. I know it sounds fucking weird. I know some people are like, but it's like, I don't know. I'm a man in real life, but in this world, I gotta be a girl. You know, fight Pokemon.
You gotta be your spirit animal, which is a woman.
Yeah, I guess. And then, like, in the new Pokemon ones, I can be, like, any type of girl I want to be, too. You know? And go to each town and fucking search for a new outfit. I don't know what it is. I get so excited when I get to a new town. It's like, where can I get my hair cut and where can I find new clothes?
I like how you have to be it feels weird if I'm the guy playing this, but if I'm a woman, then it's totally justified.
Yeah. Well, if I was a guy, look, the guys always look so lame in the new Pokemon games. They always got, like, you know, like, flood pants on and everything like that. They're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, oh, look at this guy. Jesus. He looks like my rival that I hate.
I'll be honest, I kind of just usually stick with the same outfit. I'm like, all right, this is good enough, I guess, you know, but yeah. But I do like how the thing what they do with Green is she is dishonest, and you have every reason to dislike her. But I think she's so good at what she does, and she's so kind of one step ahead of most characters. There's something about her. There's something that could be kind of redeeming in that way, you know.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of gives her sort. It's like in a sense she's 10 years old and she's hustling and she's surviving. Like you gotta almost give her credit right then and there. Like she's like an entrepreneur at a young age.
Yeah, and they do this whole thing where she sells Red a bunch of cheap shit, and Red, he's not really that stupid, but every so often he'll fall for a trick, but he never falls for the same trick twice,
Mm-hmm.
And he's a kid, so you get it. And I don't know what it is, but something about this, I know that they're all basically somewhere between 10 to 17, like most of the trainers and characters, but something about it, they always Red is the only one that comes across as like a kid to me. Everybody else always seems like they're a little older. I don't know why, even though they're probably around the same age. But something like even Blue comes across as older, maybe because it's just his personality or something like that. But
well, I'll say this: it's like one of those ones like they tell you right off the bat that they're 10 years old, but I always feel like they're drawn like they're like 16, 17-year-olds. Like I'll say this: if this was America, pretty much you would become a Pokemon master at like age 18, pretty much when you graduate high school. That would be in America, that's how I think it would work,
Yeah, we wouldn't have a comedy based off 10-year-olds going out catching monsters, But though at the same time though, I still think that going through this, when he buys all this cheap shit from Green and puts it on Pikachu, this armor, Pikachu has this very
samurai armor.
And it just breaks apart, and Pikachu just gets like, all right, Pikachu, put on this armor. He has this embarrassed look, like shit, and then a pincer beats the fuck out of him, and then he's like, all right, that didn't go as planned. So then later he comes across Green, like, there's that fucking bitch.
Oh, and the other thing too is she steals the other Pokemon, so she steals Squirtle from Professor Oak.
And now he's a war turtle by this point, and they have this whole chase and a quick little battle. And this is, I think the battle drawings are really cool, like a lot of the angles and whatnot. And there's even a part where she's once again trying to play it safe, where she's crying like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and she's trying to pickpocket me. And he flat out Leonidas, "This is Sparta," kicks her.
Yeah, I know. He does this boom, I'm not gonna fall for that again. And it's you can even tell she's like, oh, okay, it's not going to work, so I'm not going to go after him that way anymore. Because
she just uses War Turtle, yeah.
Yeah, just uses War Turtle to keep going.
Well, something I like about this series is, and this is probably still when they're trying to figure out the lore and the story and I guess the rules of it. A lot of the times, the characters, the trainers themselves are part of the battle. They might be even riding their Pokemon or be right behind their Pokemon, almost kind of using them as weapons, as opposed to, all right, we'll just settle this with a match. That almost kind of happens a lot of the time throughout this, which I think adds another dynamic to it.
Yeah, there's always, instead of just being a straightforward match, there's always something a little bit more kind of going on and whatnot. There's just this extra kind of element to the battles and so on. Even as they kind of go on, then Red realizes oh, this fucking bitch stole my badges. What the fuck? And then he's got to go break into the casino, which I like how in this one they call it the arcade. That's just an American translation thing. But
and I like how one of the things the battle takes place as the battle gets more intense, he just you know what? I'm pulling the big guns. Pulls out a Snorlax and just oh shit, he did keep the Snorlax. Okay, cool. And they continue that battle, and he thinks he got away. He got away okay. Took her stuff, but then he's like you said, he's furious once he realizes she stole his badges, and then he follows her to the arcade or the casino, whatever you want to call it. And I like how there's a bunch of Team Rocket guys there. And he does something that Ash would never have the balls to do, and that's just to knock one of these guys out, steal their outfits, and go in as a Team Rocket member.
Yeah, just exactly. Just bust on in there, no problem whatsoever.
He actually looks kind of cool in the Team Rocket outfit.
Yeah, I know. I love that cover to Chapter 16. Just he stand there, arms crossed. It's one of those ones I almost want to see more of this, But it is cool because he busts in there and he gets to learn more about, he sees Mewtwo being built and everything. And then he realizes that there's a floppy disk. That's how you know what year we're at. When you see that,
there's a clone tube machine and a floppy disk.
shit, there's some like SNES ROMs put on there back in the day for the Windows 98, and he's like, shit, you know what? That girl Green stole it.
Yeah, and I like how I didn't notice this the first time, and this is already spoilers for this whole book, but I like how it comes back around, but you just see a random scientist in the background, and that's Blaine. And that's going to come back around later. I didn't notice that the first time I was reading this.
I actually didn't notice it until right now. I looked around, I'm like, oh, there it is. Well, 'cause I will say, it's like if you're reading it like on the phone, like for some reason this comic, it sounds so odd, but on Comixology, it forces you to stay like in large print, so you do kind of have to kind of squint just a little bit sometimes to see certain pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we don't have panel by panel in Pokemon.
Yeah.
God knows why. It's the only comic I've ever found on there that doesn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know what? We're not going to do the, like, left to right thing. Fuck that. It's not made to be that way. You ain't just reverse it? No, you can't.
No, not that part. Like, the panel-by-panel part.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it doesn't do that. It's just like, no, you read this at full page. That's how the artist intended.
Yeah.
They didn't want you swiping each panel, like, being surprised, like, when you ran into something like that, having it zoom in because you have it on a cell phone. Fuck that. No, you read it the full size.
Well, I do like the panel layouts. I do like they always are very just the layout and the angles they always look really cool. Going back just to the main story of it though, I do like how Team Rocket is competent. I mean, granted, I know it's not Jesse, James, and Meowth, but I mean, this version they seem like they're competent. Like they're not like they're still the goons he's dealing with, but at least like they got shit that can actually fuck you up. They have a Hitmonlee, they have a Rhydon, they have a Graveler. It's not just like, okay, we got a Rattata and a Sandshrew. The Sandshrew's the tough one. You got to look out for him. It's not like that type of shit. Like, I think the most, because remember that was the thing with Red and Blue. Like maybe you'd have somebody with a Weezing, but beyond that, it was always just the most basic ass like, ooh, it's the anti-hero character. But then it's just like, oh no, these ones actually have badass characters. And you find out that Team Rocket's actually after her too, because she stole a floppy disk with Mew's info on it. And she has her own plans with that. She wants to basically get that character. Does she want to sell it, or does she want to get Mew created so she could sell him off? I don't remember.
She mentions selling it because she get paid a lot of money, but I feel like there's something else kind of going on there.
And her whole thing is, aside from a War Turtle, she also has a
Jigglypuff. Oh yeah, and she has a Jigglypuff too that she uses to fly.
Mm-hmm. And the Ditto, they make a lot of interesting things with the Ditto because as this big battle happens, Red comes in and saves her because she eventually gets cornered. Just because she's cornered by like 20 different Team Rocket members, and that's where Red comes in, tries to save the day. He's like, "Oh, my heroes! I'm not here to save you. I'm here to get back my fucking badges, you bitch."
He's like, "Yeah, you can't believe this. I lost those badges. My Pokemon are like over level 35. Guess what? They're all wild now. I can't control them anymore."
Because you took my fucking badges. And then like he's going. She's basically explaining her scheme. Like, here's what we got to do. We just got to show this data to my Ditto, and then he's gonna pretend to be Mew, and he's gonna go and just like fool Team Rocket, give them a chase, and we'll go in there and see what they're really working on.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she did. Just like, she's like, okay, here, Ditto, just sticks like the floppy just into it, like, read the data.
Turn into a computer. All right, now do that. Okay, cool.
But then, yeah, so they kind of do that, confuses Team Rocket, and they're able to kind of, I think they fly away on a Jigglypuff or something like that.
Yeah, they do, and then they decide to go in there. That's where she kind of explains her whole scheme that Mew's the cute, because she likes cute Pokemon. That's her whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then what she wants to do is just like, so you think, oh, she just wants it for herself. Like, oh, no, I just want to basically sell this thing, make a fuck ton of money.
Yeah, she's literally as entrepreneurial as you get. I feel like when this goes on, there's going to be something more behind it, like, I don't know, some family drama or something like that. But till that point, she's just out there she's just a hustler.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She's like Tom Cruise showing up playing fucking pool with what's his name?
Color of Money.
Yeah, Color of Money, or the Hustler if you want to go to the first movie, but
Well, she even has these goggles. I don't know how she got these goggles. They say, but she basically says like each psychic Pokemon gives off a certain kind of frequency. Mew's is different than anyone else's. We just got to follow him because he's nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And they get into that and they actually find him and they're trying to capture him. But while all that's going on, that's where Team Rockets is like, you try to fool us with this fucking like ditto piece of shit, you know? And then that's where they send in like the most frightening Jinx ever. There's this panel where it's trying to jump in and reach and grab Mew. Its eyes are
Mew's tied up too. It's like hand reaching out and what have you. I will say, I just love how they give such a great variety to Team Rocket's Pokemon. Like that's almost like another grand takeaway from this is Team Rocket is like really developed in this, like beyond anything else Team Rocket's ever been in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And after this battle happens, Mew basically gets away because they have to stop him. Because Red's like, I rather help Mew get out of there than let Team Rocket capture him. So they end up having a moment. Like Mew gives a little thing, like they help bring down Team Rocket, and then Mew gives gives him a little nod or whatever, flies away, and the girl's all sad, and Red's all like, oh whatever, you know, and she leaves him his badges, and he's like, oh okay, cool, she's not so bad, whatever.
Yeah, so it's like, I guess it's okay, you know. I'm thinking maybe he's probably walking away. He's like the whole time he's like, what the fuck else did she take? Mm-hmm. There's no way she just went off. You know what I mean? Like he's probably laying in bed. It's like fucking 3 a.m. Like, what the fuck did she take? Like
he's checking his cell phone. He's checking like, do I still my gum? Still my gum. Okay. I will say though, that after every 2 or 3 like, because I noticed this series will have like a 2 or 3 issue arc. And then it just goes on a single little fun side story, you know? And they always build up to something else, but I like how they show, the way you have to get Polygon is you have to win them in the game, and then Blue and Red bump into each other, and their Pokeballs go everywhere. Like they just have this fuck you moment, you know? And
well, even Blue, like, he's like, fucking Porygon, I can't even fucking train him. Like, you know what? Shit Pokemon, here, you take him.
Well, there's that, and then like I think that it's one of those things where they accidentally switch balls right there, and he says like, "Oh, you can't train them because if you don't capture them yourself, they're harder to tame." Which is one of those things which I don't think I've heard that before, but at the same time, I can make sense, you know.
Well,
if you capture them, they don't respect you.
Yeah, there is that kind of thing that like in I think old Pokemon, like they level up better if you kind of catch them yourself, and then they level up even better if you trade them. But I think there's something to kind of. That there was something there. I think it's just one of the ones you just don't see it anymore in the games. But there was something like that. So that wasn't just like made up anywhere. Though it's almost like the interesting thing is because they throw in these like very like game oriented things in there. But I love how it kind of works together because as they switch Pokemon and then they realize they're like shit. Like I got fucking Blue's Pokemon and I got Red's Pokemon and whatnot. They almost have different training tactics that kind of go about it. Like Gary's like Blue's there and he's like, well, I train mine all like, Kung Fu style and what have you, and then like we make sure we go out and we jog 10 miles a day and, do pull-ups and push-ups and stuff. And Ash is just like, Red's always like, well, me and my Pokemon, we just have, good times together and we hug and, tell each other how much we love it. And that you can do anything when you grow up.
And I do kind of like how Red's Pokemon or Blue's Pokemon are just like, fuck you, dude. But after a while, like, he's not the worst, I guess. And then in the meantime, like, by the time they're all done, I
like his Blue he even has groupies that show up at some point and they see, Red with like the same Pokemon. They're like, oh, that must be Blue. Like he's world famous and whatnot. He don't look nearly as good as in the pictures, but well, whatever. He's got the same Pokemon.
Has to be him, and then sure enough, that like he even goes to like pet Charmeleon at some point, tries to snap at him.
Yeah, exactly. Like not gonna have it.
But then they also have this thing where eventually they do start to kind of warm up to him.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, like Blue's Pokemon are all just like fucking like Blue is training Red's Pokemon, and they're all just becoming a lot more harder, a lot more badasses.
Yeah, well, because he's almost giving it like he sort of trains his Pokemon almost like they're in like the military, where Red's kind of version is like, hey, we're gonna have we're gonna get strong and powerful, but we're gonna have a good time because he wins over Blue's Pokemon. And be like, hey, dude, let's go. You guys want to jog 10 miles? You want to go fucking swimming?
Yeah, that and then like in the middle of that battle, like they both realize that they both have they could both they could both kind of like take from each other, kind of in a way. Like, all right, well, this works a little bit, this works that way. I got my style, you got your style, but both styles have their own way of working. And you see, while they're both they corner a Ninetales, and I'm gonna be honest, it's a little bit of like a hard to watch picture because at some point like his Machoke turns into a Machamp, and you just see this panel of this fucking Machamp pinning down this Ninetales, and it's a little salty. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, the Ninetales is screaming out in agony. Machamp's got him like down, like almost has it in a headlock. Yet the arm's not there, but it's in like that same position. You know, literally 4 hands pushing it down. Like if there was a Rapamon, this Machamp is definitely it.
Well, he's got 4 hands to pull it off, and he's always grinning.
Yeah, like literally, it's real intense there.
Yeah, that's like, I think another draft on that picture right there. I'm gonna give it credit on like, you know, the dude's like artistry and all that, but it's just
it's a woman that draws it.
Woman, okay. Gonna give credit on the artistry, but that picture right there is a little like, oh boy, I feel bad for that Ninetales.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of it because we live in a harder. It's the '90s when life was 10 times harder than it is nowadays.
Internet just not in our pockets. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Shit, you had to go find a bill if you wanted to go on the internet, and that just took forever to log in anyway, so you almost wasn't worth it in the first place.
So then it goes on. They both kind of like, who should get the, you like Red gets kind of screwed because even though he's basically the one that caught the Ninetales, like, yeah, but used my Pokemon. Like, yeah, and I also made him level up on that. So he basically gets kind of fucked over out of that. So you feel a little bad for him. And then his Pokemon, hey guys, and they're all pissed off that they got like left with him with Blue, so they just start chasing him down.
Yeah, exactly. I also like how it throws in once again like Pokemon game kind of stuff that like, hey, the only way that Machoke was gonna evolve is by being traded. So that accidental trade is how he kind of turned him a champ. Small things like that. I just think it's kind of cool that that's just kind of in there. Mm-hmm. But
and then
I will say this next section I actually liked a lot when he finds like Erica, the gym leader of Celadon and whatnot, and the twist that they sort of had with her but by reading like the first parts of these books, you're like, well, shit, I feel like these characters could almost go in different directions. Like don't base your exact Pokemon knowledge on it. We saw where Koga was, we saw Lieutenant Surge, and so on. So like, when they kind of made like Erica like, oh, maybe she is kind of evil. Like I was almost kind of willing to believe it, even though that's my favorite gym leader. But like I was like, maybe at the end of the day, like that's what's going on here, because she kind of says like, yo, if you want to battle me, Red, I'll fucking do it. And but you got to go capture this Eevee. And I love how Erica's also got all these like suitors there. They're like, Master Erica, what do you need? Like I think she's like. On I almost said Themyscira, but not Themyscira. What's Odysseus's island called?
Oh, I don't remember. Odysseus's island.
Well, like whatever. She's
Troy
like
or whatever.
Troy's where Odysseus left to, and then had a hard time had all kinds of car trouble on the way home. But
sirens, a Cyclops.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it was one of those fucking 10-year trips.
Friend got turned into a pig and he ate him. Yeah, don't question it.
Yeah, don't question it. Other guys just wouldn't stop eating the fucking flowers and sleeping.
Yeah. They were like just moments away from being home. He's just like, hey, here's this bag of air. Why give me a giant bag of air? No reason. Just here's this bag of air. Why are you giving me a bag of air? Don't fucking question it. Just take the bag of air. Okay. And then they get on the boat. Hey, man, what do you think he's got in that fucking bag? I don't know. He doesn't want us going through it. We're almost home. It's right over the horizon. Fucking see it. They open the bag of air. Just like, you dumb motherfuckers. Couldn't wait till he got home.
I will say, the only part I always bothered me that Odysseus
like,
never says, like, you know what's in that bag? It's fucking a bag of air. Like, I feel like he should have been up front right off the bat, like, yo, it's a bag of fucking air. It's not treasure.
Then every dumb fuck on that boat would have been like, oh yeah, really? Why are you carrying a bag of air around? I don't know. They wouldn't let me leave until I fucking took it. It was awkward.
It's probably, someone just was probably farting in it and so on, so you don't want to open it up. It's
the farts of Zeus. Shit. This might be worth something in a town square.
Well, let me see. I want to smell it. This guy opens it up. It's like, oh, it's fucking disappointment.
Oh man, it's only the farts of Ares, not Zeus.
Oh, those are kind of rancid. But Erica's kind of almost like living like Penelope there, except for the fact that she's in fucking control. There's just all these like suitors outside that God knows what.
Yeah, well, it's like she's basically royalty because she's like just this very old school traditional, like, oh, she's like the daughter of like of this company. She's like the heir to this like multi-billion-dollar company. So, and she's also a gym leader, and Red just wants to go out and is like, look, I really want to battle you. Here's my badges. And then I think right there, is this where she finds out they have fake badges? Because at some point we realize that Green swapped out his fake badges. I don't think it's here, though this would have been a place to do it. But then he's like, all right, you got to go out and catch an Eevee for me. What? You got to catch an Eevee, and then we'll battle. And he gets in contact with Bill. Like, Bill's kind of like his M, or his Q.
He's Q. He's like the Jerry Reed Q. Just like, hey there, how you doing there, Red? Well, I got a dang old invention right here. They found the perfect Eevee for you. I like this in part 2. He's like, I can't remember. He's like saying like fire. He's like, go get some fur right there. He's like, what are you saying? Fur. Don't you fucking know fur? Come on, man.
I think
like,
Bill's one of my favorite characters in this graphic novel.
He's like, yeah, fur. You fucking idiot. Shit. Read a book, you stupid fuck. I'm 10 years old. Read a book, you stupid fuck. How do you think I got invented shit?
Yeah, I like Bill a lot in this.
I do too.
And so they're going out and they're trying to find an Eevee, and when they're going out there doing that, oh yeah, there's that part. Not far.
Yeah, just Bill pronouncing things. Well, the Eevee that they find is interesting because all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, is that multiple Eevees they're fighting that have evolved into Flareon and Vaporeon and Jolteon and whatnot, and it's like, oh no, it's an Eevee that can actually change back and forth between it, which is like, that's not like in the game at all. But I'm like, that's so fucking cool if that's the case.
And then you find out that because every Pokemon he throws out there, it's just about like it transforms into something that it would be its weakness. And you find out that this thing was actually, first off, it's a little rabid, and it's like this because it's gone through a bunch of testing. So since it's going through a bunch of testing, it was just this weird experimentation that's making it go back and forth. And it's combined with that, it's also just a little bit more angry and crazier.
Yeah, it's just feral and wild, and it's, you learn that because it was in like that same like research lab as like Mewtwo and whatnot. But it's almost like I like how Erica like owns up to it, like, yeah, like I fucking made a weapon. Like, what do you think about that, huh? And it's just like, oh, what the fuck? What's wrong with you, Erica? He's like, what? That's part of the test. You can't fucking handle it. Like, I fucking invent shit. Like, what do you do? And then you realize later that, like, she was being like, no, I'm actually, I love fucking Pokemon and stuff. And, like, that came from Team Rocket, and I, like, adopted it and whatnot. And I wanted you just to bring it back, or it escaped or something. I can't remember. Something happened there. But I will say, like, I was almost going along with that Erica thing because I was like, shit, all the other gym leaders are practically bad guys. Like, you know what I mean?
Why not her?
Yeah, why not her? Like, by this point, I was like that. So I almost thought that twist worked really well. I thought that was cool.
I mean, the fact that she's still good comes into play, because the whole thing with it is she says, yeah, I'm going to do it, and here's what's going to happen. So, like, this Eevee, it's basically, because he had to, like, really bring the thing down hard in order to get it to, like, to capture it. So, basically, he hasn't had a chance to take it to a center and heal it yet. So he's like, if I open this ball and throw it out in this fight, it's going to die, and that's what I'm going to do. And basically, Red is willing to do anything other than that. And she's basically giving him all these ultimatums. Like, if you join me and do this, then we can make some shit happen. He's like, no. He's like, that's just what I wanted to hear. Because we're trying to build up this resistance against Team Rocket. And I need to make sure that you're on our side. And like you said, she said, like, yeah, I basically rescued this thing. And we were training it. And we were trying to fix it. But in the process, it got away.
Yeah, I thought that was like, it's like such a, like an involved part, and I just thought that was really neat. Just like she really had a good test to see if Red was like capable of doing this. And once again, there's so many like, there's so much life and death moments in this Pokemon comic that I just feel like you don't get like really in anything else. And it's almost kind of like, I like that. It's like at every turn you don't know when either you or the Pokemon can die.
Well, that's the thing, because even in the show, the anime, There's like moments of that, but it wasn't too often. It's like, oh no, the SS Anne is sinking, but like but it would never be anything serious. So there is something like, oh, Team Rocket is throwing these old fashioned Looney Tunes bombs on us, but beyond that, and like out of a fucking balloon shaped like a fucking cat, but it wouldn't happen too. I mean, if it was, it wouldn't happen anything that serious. The only time it was like there's life and death stuff was in the movies, and I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of gravitated towards the movies a little bit during that time, because Mewtwo Strikes Back, that opens up with like Mewtwo like, I fucking hate nerds, and kills all like the scientists in a lab,
Yeah, exactly.
And he's all contemplating life, like the beginning of the movie. It's like the first like 5-10 minutes of that movie, not counting the little like Pikachu's
Island
thing.
Or whatever.
Yeah, the first 5-10 minutes of that movie is so much darker than the rest of it.
It really is. Though the ending also kind of is too, because they had that moment where where Ash is like turned to stone and dead. Pikachu's like, Pika, and they start shocking him like, Pika, like trying to revive him. Like that part is pretty intense. Like when you think about it, like his fucking buddy is dead, and like he's trying to bring him back to life, and he can't.
Well, the reason why that part's effective is because it's like Ash would do something stupid or embarrass himself, and Pikachu would electrocute him, and it would be kind of a funny moment. And that was something where they used it against you in a way like, what is usually the funny thing is now the sad thing, because he's not getting up. And that still is, I'll say, as flawed as the series is, the animated series, the anime, that scene in the movie still has some good moments like that.
Oh yeah, definitely, totally the whole way. But what's also interesting in this one? I always like how Pikachu, he's used, but Pikachu is so well balanced in this. He's not like, there's a lot of moments in it where Pikachu will be gone for like an issue or two, and it's like, because you can now imagine the TV show not seeing Pikachu like 90% of the time in it. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm kind of wondering what happened there, like, because originally it was the 3 starters, and then they're like, let's get another mascot. I'm wondering how they landed on, like, did they actively decide to do that with Pikachu with the show? Or did the show, was he just a favorite character that people kept on liking? Like, let's focus on him then.
I think
how that happened.
I think it was one of those ones where it probably, like, I bet you when the game first came out in Japan, nobody thought too much. It was like, oh, it's just another Pokemon, Pikachu. He's in the fucking woods, you know what I mean? Whatever. And then maybe people are like, oh, that Pikachu's kind of cool looking, and so on. And then they're like, well, he's just kind of cute. And the girls seem to kind of gravitate towards him. And, our other starters are all kind of manly looking, especially once they evolve. So maybe we need something else a little bit like, on the cuter
softer
side. Yeah, something kind of. Because, at the end of the day, it's like, well, Blastoise, Charizard, Venusaur, like, all those ones are just all like, yo, what's up? Here to start World War III.
Then we're going to Wing Zone.
Yeah. Oh, God, the fucking buffalo wings are out of this world. They're made out of Taurus. Yeah, I know it's kind of fucking weird, because you expected I was going to say they're made out of a Pharaoh, but no, they make them out of a Taurus.
They go out of their way. Don't ask what part of it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a weird thing, though, because going into this, I guess that was a question. Like, I was like, where are all the real animals in this? Because I assume when Pokemon first came out, I assumed there were real animals that share the world with Pokemon. They just like, well, we can't have a Growlithe and a dog, because the Growlithe is just going to fucking burn them,
Yeah.
But, at the same time, though, there were, like, they did make a point. I remember there were episodes of the show where they just had regular fish, and I want to say there was, like, maybe even just regular birds flying by for a second. But then after a while, they went away. But this book reaffirms that, no, there are regular, real animals out there, but they just don't take they just mainly work as food for Pokemon.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, like, I will say, like, I think it's one of those ones that was like kind of like in the beginning it was like that, like they were unsure, like, should we do this or should we not? And I think as time has kind of gone on, I think the world's supposed to be no, there's just Pokemon are the animals. I think in the long run that's sort of like kind of what they came to, but I think in those early days it was almost that thing like, shit, do we add more in there, because we're, you know what I mean, like 150 just doesn't sound like that much, but now that you got like 750 plus, like, you can pretty much go, oh no, they're all animals.
Well, at the same time, I'm just wondering, like, so does that mean every time someone's having sushi, they're eating, like, a Goldeen or a Magikarp? Or every time someone's having, like, a burger, it's Tauros meat or something like that.
I'm thinking so. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
I'm just thinking, just because like someone captures, like, you're gonna be good friends with that? No, I'm gonna have a fucking steak out of this thing. And then, like,
just an old cowboy guy with a big old, like, handlebar mustache. Like, putting jobs on the table right here by capturing this thing and selling it off. Like, you got a problem with that, ma'am?
Like, that seems like I could see, I can honestly see something like, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to. Maybe they'll like later retcon some stuff. Like, oh, everyone in the world's vegetarian or something. Who knows? But it's one of those, because there is no meat in the curries you make, is there? And it's all like berries and fruit and vegetables, right?
In the Pokemon game?
And Sword and Shield isn't like the berries.
You could throw sausages in there and so on.
Oh, so there is sausages out there. Okay, so that's probably all right. It's just a fucking Diglett. That's all it is.
Yeah, like, just rip it out of the ground, throw it in the pot.
Yeah.
I will say, speaking of Diglett, there's that scene, I think it's a little bit early on, but like when he's battling, like, I think Erica, there's like this Diglett. It's just like leaning back, it's like, Diglett! It's just like so like kind of badass, like just like scurrying across the ground, just mouth full wide open, angry-eyed.
Never gave a shit for Diglett. I don't know. I'm just like, where's the rest of you? Be a fucking man.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, those, I always feel like there's kind of like those Pokemon, they're meant not really to be like a Pokemon you capture and technically train with. They're supposed to just be, they're like filler Pokemon, I guess, for the world.
I mean, I know Doug Trio could be strong, but at the same time, It's like, like, Doug Trio, Diglett, Executor, never gave a fuck for them, Tangela, I still don't give a shit for Tangela.
Yeah, because those are always kind of like, I feel like they're sort of like the weird Pokemon. I mean, they're like those weird characters sometimes in fighting games. You're like, well, that character's fucking weird, but there's that certain 5% out there that loves that kind of character, and you're like, oh, okay.
In our earlier version, we'll go back to the main script in a second, or the main movie, but book. But
it's like
Max
a movie,
Landis,
but better.
Max Landis, when he was trying to pitch his idea for a Pokemon movie, he was going off of being two trainers, red and blue. Blue was a girl. And Red's main Pokemon was a coffin. And the thing with that is, I know that's a different choice.
Yeah, talk about, like, the hardest sell.
Yeah, but here's what they're probably trying to do. They're probably trying to make something like, well, maybe he's scary and ugly looking, but deep down he's, like, really sweet or really nice. I could see, you don't judge a book by its cover. They're probably going for something like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, if you wanted that thing to get, because they had him, like, talking shit, like, oh, yeah, well, they ended up going with Detective Pikachu instead of my thing, so whatever. Just like, well, I don't blame them, because frickin' if you wanted that thing to get made, you shouldn't have picked fucking Coffin. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah, like, what are you, fucking stupid? Like that's that kind of thing where, like, he obviously didn't realize, it's like, yeah, marketing-wise, you're going to want, like, a Pokemon that sells. Like, at the end of the day, here's the thing, Coffin could be one of his Pokemon, just not his main Pokemon. Just saying. Like, that's a weird... I mean, like, there was literally, like, 500 other Pokemon you could choose that would be much better choices than that.
Yeah, but whatever. It is what it is. And that movie never got made, and it's probably never going to... His script's never going to get made after this Me Too shit that came out on him, but yeah. Anyway, we jump over to Safari Zone, and I know you love this opening strictly because it's made to look like Jurassic Park.
I know, that's why I like... Maybe just laugh, just like... Just right at the bat, you're like, oh yeah, shit, we know where we are. We're going to Safari Zone. Well, plus, beforehand, we get a looming picture of, like, Sabrina. Once again, this is another weird one, too. She's got the R on her chest. So you already know that she's hooked up with Team Rocket. And she's riding under Kadabra.
Mm-hmm.
Just
which I'm surprised is not an Alakazam, but it's only a Kadabra, yeah.
Well, the one thing I noticed in this Pokemon story, though, is they like to do the thing that, like, you don't see like a lot of other things, where the Pokemon will slowly evolve as time goes on, which I always think is very kind of interesting. You start watching the background, it's like, oh shit, the characters are, like, evolving. Even, like, Misty's Pokemon are evolving and so on, too. Like, I think that's kind of a neat way to go about it.
Yeah. And he's going to Safari Zone. They usually give Red a character to bounce off of. Like, even though he's on this adventure by himself, there's always somebody there for him to bounce off of. Like, maybe he'll call Bill for help, or maybe he'll, like, bump into somebody for, like, this one adventure. This time he has, like, a robot Pidgey that's just kind of like his tour guide, but the Pidgey, like, has no problem talking shit to him. Like,
yeah. He literally has, like, it's a living kind of life thing, like...
Yeah, and it starts off like, and away we go. We're having a good time. Please keep your hands. And then, like, eventually, because he's given Safari Balls and all that, and he's not allowed to take his other Pokemon in there. And he sees two Nidokings fighting, and he's like, I'm going to try to go for one of these things. And he accidentally captures a Nidoqueen that's just kind of standing there. He's just like, oh my god, you fucking killed us all! So now the Nidoking is going for him, like, that's my fucking woman! Because they were fighting over that. So now he's like, oh shit. So now he's got, it has this almost like T-Rex vibe. Like, this thing is just tracking him down, like, just to fucking straight up murder him for his woman.
Well, yeah, and Red smuggled his own Pokeball in there, too. That's the thing, is he's like, yeah, I fucking snuck this in my butthole. Like...
Well, oh yeah, that's right, because they don't have Safari Balls. He's just not supposed. They're not supposed to do that. It's just supposed to be like a little trick thing.
Yeah,
like, you know what?
They're like on
Fuck
a
it,
tour or something like that. That's sort of how they treat it. Like,
that's right. I forgot. So then, like, the guy in the office, like, what the fuck is that? This is why we don't let 11-year-olds in here.
Yeah, like, shit. Like, next thing you know, we got Nidokings fucking trampling everybody and park's going down. Like, I love how it even looks like fucking Jurassic Park. They got this, like, all these screens going on. Fear's like, where's Nedry? Check the vending machines!
You see, he's just fucking, like, gored by, like, a scyther or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like...
I love how the robot bird, though, is just, like, at the point where he's just like, that's it, you fucking did it. We're all dead. Look what you fucking did. You know what? Fuck you. I'm almost leaving. And, like, the bird almost just starts going away.
I don't have to stay for shit. You signed the contract. You the like,
do what now?
You basically like,
you didn't read it, did you? Read? It's the 90s.
We're not fucking liable for you, kid. I don't give a shit. Your parents aren't here. You're gonna die in this fucking place. Fuck off.
So then it just becomes kind of chaos, and then of course, like, Red kind of realizes, like, well, wait a second, we can fucking win this, like, and he takes like a rock and chucks that at him, which I love how, like, nowadays we can't throw rocks at Pokemon anymore. Like, that is fucking obscene to do that. Well,
it's actually making him bleed. He's like, that didn't work. All right, Yeah, I may have made it even madder, he says. And then you see his Pokemon, like, back in, like, the control room watching, like, what the fuck is he doing? And then he keeps on going. This Nidoking's tracking him down. At some point, he hits with a rock, and it takes out one of its eyes. It's not all bloody or anything, but it's just like, oh, wow. No, Red's kind of being a little piece of shit in this issue, but whatever. It's still fun.
Yeah, well, he is now at this point. Like, I think it's once like he just thought, like, shit, I'm just gonna capture this Pokemon, and now it's like, oh, I didn't know what I fucking started, and now it's like he's fighting for his life in a sense.
And he's running through. He's basically just trying to outlast and outrun this Nidoking and trying to make his way back. And at some point, he's like carrying the robot Pidgey with him, just like, I'm a robot. I'm programmed to care, but I don't deep down.
But I don't want to die. Save me, you son of a bitch.
Do I have a soul? What happens when I turn off?
But then that's where it's like they go farther into it, and then they find those, like, victory bells or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, you gotta be careful. There's a fucking victory bell out here. Like, they're kind of like evolving rituals. They, like, take, creatures and poor young boys and eat them, and then they're able to evolve.
And they feed them basically to the younger. Yeah, and that's like, oh shit, this thing got a little bit more teeth.
Yeah, well, this is
like the series itself has a little bit more teeth.
Yeah, I mean the victory bell has more teeth too, but like
yeah, but I realized that may come across. I was trying to make a pun, but yeah, I was just like, oh shit, like that kind of thing never happened in the cartoon.
No, yeah, it's like that's the one thing you just would never have kind of got. It's just the fact that it's like, oh shit, life and death's kind of happening here, and then kind of Red realizes he's like, well, I got this, like, collection of weird shit that I've, like, found along the way. Like, I got my, like, item finder, my Pokeflute, and a Pokedoll that I never fucking used before, but right now...
Stuff in the game, yeah, all this, like, the even the soda.
Yeah, and the Repel and whatnot. And so, as they kind of go on, he used the Pokeflute to wake up the Pokemon, but then, like, the bird's like, oh, shit, we woke up, that's not the only thing I woke up. And then they throw that Pokeball doll out and whatnot, like, we'll make a distraction and get out of here.
Well, it's also one of those things when he's this is where they actually have a couple of just random, like, animals, like some birds, looks like a gopher or something, just kind of wound up in the vines, already dead, and they start just like they stab it and start stealing its nutrients.
Yeah, exactly, just feeding off whatever these things are.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, he even gets the bird. They all wake up, and he's trying to get out of there. And in the process of this, he manages to capture the victory bell so he can, like, all right, I got this victory bell captured now. Because he plans it. It's actually kind of... I do like how much thought goes into just a simple battle in this. Because before, it'd just be like, oh, I just got to think of, like, what's strong against this or how to fight it, you know. But in this, there actually is some interesting strategy. So he kind of coaxes the victory bell into getting, like, punched by the Nidoking, and out of that weakens it, so he's able to capture it, and he says, all right, now I can fight the Nidoking with the victory bell.
Yeah, because it's like one of those ones, like, yeah, because I think it's like the victory bell's already weak or something. Like, there's a really good, like, tactic he uses around it by having a weak Pokemon and being able to still, like, defeat this, you know, giant monster. And then, of course, like, second he gets out of there, it's like, dude, check what I caught.
And he has, like, a bunch. He has, like, more than one Nidoking. He has, like, a bunch of Weeping Bells and Bell Sprouts.
It's just like walking out there, just like the park officials, like, oh, but you're not supposed to just catch them all. Like, shit, what we're gonna tell the boss when he gets back in.
What I do like about this series is it is kind of like the game in the aspect of you just capture them and then you capture them. Maybe you might use it later, but a lot of times you capture them, you don't use them again. You know, there's like his main, like, it starts off as a main 3 and then eventually becomes his main 6. But there are ones where he just captures them, and he just might use them depending on the battle.
Well, that's what I kind of like, too, is the roster rotates as well, too. Like, he's never really too stuck. I mean, there's always Poliwrath, you know, Pikachu, and, Ivysaur. But beyond that, though, the other ones sort of kind of rotate, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah. And going on to the next one, it's just him coming out of, like, Diglett Mine or whatever, and he's coming out with Giovanni. Now, if you don't know... by this point who that guy is, just like, oh, he's just some nice guy going through the
just some old Italian guy you found deep in a dark cave.
Yeah, don't question it. And he just seems like he's just like this guy who seems to be, because he knows who this kid is, and he's trying to, and quickly he has his internal monologue which lets you know who he is, and he goes from like the like upside down smile eyes to like the narrow, angry eyes real quickly. I'm like, wait, what did you say? Oh, I'm sorry, nothing. Pretend I didn't say that. You know, and then he goes back to internal monologue where you realize who this guy is. Like, oh, okay. I mean, if you play the games, you already know who he is just from seeing him. But at the same time, they just have this little conversation, and you realize, like, oh, well, this kid's really good. He's really good. But he's still a kid. He doesn't always think things through. So... I'm glad I got to talk to him for a minute. I'm glad I got to chat with him, get an idea of who he is. But I know what I'm going to do now.
Well, and I think that's just almost an interesting one too. It's just like almost the fact that like Giovanni kind of realizes like shit, like 2 of my top guys, Koga and Lieutenant Surge, got fucked over by this kid. I got to go figure out who this guy is. And as he's kind of going, he's like, well, I'll just kids love when you meet an old creepy guy in a fucking mine, you know.
I got a nice suit.
I got a nice suit, you know. I offered him a cannoli, like he was happy about it.
What's worse, if I meet him in a cave, or if I pull up in a limousine, like, boy, get in.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just seem like a regular fella if I do that.
Jeffrey Epstein shit up in there.
But just the concept of the fact that, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna kind of go be a nice guy, hang out with him. He has no idea who the fuck I am anyways, and I'll kind of get an idea of what I'm going to be up against in the near future. Like, you know what I mean? He's so pre-planning out what he's going to do. Like, I just feel like it adds this extra layer to it, you know? And then, of course, they get to a point where it's like, there's, like, this fire going on, like, because they're going to go to, like, the, I think in Pewter City, they're going to go there to the lab, and they're like, shit, we found some fossils. Boy, you like fossils, don't you? He's like well, let's go develop them together, you know? It's almost like, hey, you like taking photos? I got a dark room at my house. You want to go develop photos, kid?
Well, I even like...
Well, you know, you got to be naked when you develop photos because, you know, photos don't like clothes.
You don't... Yeah, the light, like, shines off your clothes, but we're dressed in black, so yeah, just the fuck up and do it. I need this. I have money. I can tell you what to do.
Yeah. But then,
I do. They have their fight a Magmar, and he just like takes out the Magmar with like just Sandshrew he caught a minute ago. Like, probably never going to use this again.
Yeah, exactly, one of those ones. But even the process, it's like Giovanni sees like, Well, he just fucking guesses half the time he's making his decisions. Like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's really doing. He's learning as he goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like how Giovanni is just this far ahead. And that's something about, like, it's not like this deep connection between the hero and the villain here. But at the same time, it's way more than the show did. Because, and I don't mean to keep on bringing back the show, but there's one day I got a little curious, and I was thinking back on the show. I'm like, but I quit watching before Ash and Giovanni ever had a chance to meet. And then I looked up of when they met, and this is probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, when I looked this up. They met probably somewhere like in 2000. They met for the first time somewhere between, like, I think 2009 and 2012, somewhere around that area. And I was like, are you fucking shitting me?
Like during like Pokemon Black and White.
It took the main character that long to finally meet the villain of the Generation 1, and then compile with that, I watched him meeting, and it wasn't this big, grand, like, moment. It was just this, I am Giovanni, I'm the leader of Team Rocket. Yeah, well, I'm Ash Ketchum from Peck Town, I'm gonna stop you. It's like, alright. I remember why I stopped watching this show.
Yeah, well, that's like one of those ones, too. It's like, you think about, like you almost... Yeah, that's so odd that it would take that long. Because I'm like, obviously, you've rotated your roster of audience, in a sense, because, a kid's show roster probably only lasts about 2 to 3 years, and then you have a new set of kids. That's the whole reason why Power Rangers changes, like, every year for the most part. Is just like they're like, we fucking know that the kids change. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this right here, so I was just like, okay, so he's not even at the gym yet, and he's already meeting Giovanni, and he's already getting a little bit of chemistry with him. And he's kind of like, Giovanni has, like, respect for the kid. He's like, you know what, he's good, but, he's still a kid, and I could probably bring him under my wing, but at least I know who I'm dealing with now. And he even gives him the fossil, like, kid, why don't you take this, enjoy it, cool. And then from there, I want to say, because where they're taking the fossil too, it's burnt down because of some Magmars. And the Magmars keep on going after him, but then, like, he says, I'll do the kid this one little favor, and that's where, because, like, he says the kid didn't even knock the Magmars out. He just kind of dazed them and walked off. He's like, he doesn't know how aggressive, angry, and these things hold, like, a grudge. So then he just pulls out a cloister, freezes those things, and walks away. Like, I'll do the kid this one favor, just this one time. But after that, go on.
I will say that is the part I forgot about that, but, like, now that you bring that up, like, I like how Giovanni says, like, in there, he's like, what, you're not gonna finish him off? Like, he literally says, like, no, you killed the fucking Pokemon. Like, you don't let that fucking live. Like, a dangerous Pokemon like that. Like, I love that kind of interesting fact in there. And it's almost like he just sort of freezes them just kind of as is. But, maybe, who knows, he might freeze him to death. Because look at that fucking Cloyster looking at it. So it's like, and he's even walking off laughing like, fuck Cloyster, finish the job. He even says it, Cloyster, finish it. Finish him, Cloyster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, Cloyster's like, all right, cool. Like, Cloyster looks like, I get to fuck something, all right.
But I like the idea, because that's always, like, that was always the old-fashioned, like, kind of argument, like, when a Pokemon faints in the woods, is it dead, or is it just knocked out?
Oh, right here it says they're fucking dead.
Exactly. And and I always kind of said, I always felt like faint was a nice way of saying killed.
Well, apparently, even in the Japanese version, it still says faint, just because they don't want kids to be thinking you killed them. But my thing is,
well, I mean, like,
why couldn't you just capture it, though? That's just the logic. It's fainted. Why can't you just capture it and heal it?
Yeah, so that's why, like, in my personal opinion, because of that logic that I can't capture it afterwards, like, I don't know if it's just not sporting. You can't just capture a Pokemon when it's fainted on the ground, you know what I mean? It's like kicking a man in the dick while he's passed out. You just don't do that. And I think even in the Japanese one, I know it says fainted there too, but I think even still, I think at the end of the day, it's like, no. When you kill it, when you take a Pokemon out in the middle of the woods, it's fucking dead.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, if you knock them out with a trainer, I feel like, no, they're just in critical, and then they can take it back and heal them. But if it's in the middle of the woods, it's fucking dead.
That's what I always felt. And I like the next one. They're on their way to Seafoam Island, basically, and they're out there looking for the Surf HM. Yeah. And while looking for it, they accidentally fuck with a Dragonite, so you get this cool battle between, like, a couple of Red's Pokemon, and then mainly it becomes a Snorlax fighting a Dragonite, which is kind of a cool mix-up, which you don't really think of too often. And then from there, while he's trying to get away and the HM ends up getting crushed, he's saved by Gyarados, and for a second you're like, you know who it is. You're like, is that a fucking mermaid? And then you realize, oh, it's Misty. And I'm guessing they don't really explain it, but I'm guessing she probably just has some little like mermaid bottom thing, which probably helps her swim faster or something like that.
Well, the thing is it's not there later on, so this is my other thought on it, is maybe Ash has, like, you know, he's 10 years old. Maybe by the fact that he's drowning, he has this vision like, oh, a mermaid saved me. And it's like, no, that's just Misty that saved you. But he almost, like, in his drowning last moments of life, he envisions seeing a mermaid, but it's really just Misty normally swimming. Like, you know what I mean?
That could be it too. That could be it too. I was thinking either way. I can't believe it, Gyarados. He says like, oh no, he says I can't believe it, Gyarados, like that, because he recognizes it. Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
It sounds like him and fucking Gyarados like laying out in the field, look at the stars. Can't fucking believe it, Gyarados. Balls of light that far away.
Like, oh, I'm like Molly or something, just being kind of like, you know what? I think the band Lit is really underrated. I think they deserve another shot.
Gyarados. Yeah, you get it too, don't you?
Gyarados. Yeah.
But
they're both on a fucking towel, but Gyarados' towel is like only human size.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that battle rages on. Of course, Red's brought out and whatnot, and he's saved by Misty. And I like how, like, even in this battle too, him and Misty actually end up switching Pokemon too. Like, like that's like how, like, there's just like the light bit of trading kind of in there, being like, hey, you take my Pokemon for a moment. Like, that's just kind of how it is, you know. Like, just to kind of, I think it's that weird thing because, you know, like in the game, like, you almost never trade Pokemon except for those few that you need from your friend. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's never like a casual trade, I think, in Pokemon. It's not just like, hey, you want to borrow my Dragonite for a bit? Like, you know, you trade him back like after you beat a couple badges or get a couple badges or something like that. Like, I don't remember ever doing any of that. It was just more like, what's those, like, 15 Pokemon I need? Okay, cool. Which one's the ones we need to evolve? Okay, cool. And done. That's it. No more. As far as we're going.
Sorry, the audio went out there for a second. But I will say that, yeah, because when you would just trade them, it would always be one of those things where you're only doing it to like one of two things. You're either doing, if you're doing the link cables, you're doing the clone technique, where you have something that you both have something the other guy wants, but you don't want to give it up. So you just kind of do the thing where you while it's in the process of trading, you unplug it real quick and it just doubles whatever is going down the pipe.
Yeah, which technically only works on red and blue.
Yeah, which only worked on red and blue. And then that's how I got Mew. That's how I got a bunch of other stuff too, you know. And then there's the other one where you just basically like.
Since you brought up Mew, I want to say this. You know, what'd be interesting to do is, you know how Mew has like on every Pokemon they have their original trainer's name on there. It would be interesting to figure out like who that Mew came from. You know what I mean? Because like back in those days, you had to go to like a special event to get a Mew. So mostly it was always, I knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who got a Mew. And so you never knew who this fucking original person it was that made the fucking mecha journey to go grab this Mew from like an event.
Well, I'm wondering, like, was there an event in America where they handed the Mew off? Or did a Japanese guy eventually just come to the States and just, like, hand a Mew off to an American guy? That's what I want to know.
Well, I want to say that because I remember, like give or take, San Jose, not necessarily San Francisco, somewhere around that area, they had one of those Pokemon events that I remember seeing in a magazine. Be like, oh, come here, we'll play Pokemon cards. You can trade Pokemon of other, you know, it was almost like PokeCon, but they just didn't call it that time period. You know, and they were playing cards, and you could come there and you could get the Mew. I remember that was the big deal. It was like, oh shit, you can get the Mew.
Okay, because I remember I did have that one friend who had a Mew, and everybody would just, once you learn the clone technique, that's where you just basically would get, yeah. And I remember I had a friend, because I remember I beat the game, and then I was like, you know what? I kind of, because the thing about the game is, it's fun when you're all finished and you guys are all leveled up, but one of the funnest things is starting at the beginning and working your way through. That's one of the funnest things to me. Mm-hmm. And I remember I ended I remember I restarted my game and had a Mew, and a friend of mine got pissed off at me, like, you had a Mew, dude, you're so stupid, why would you restart it? I'm like, well, I get that Mew from another friend, you know? We all fucking have it by this point. We all know where the fuck to get it from.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. I mean, like, I got that solid, I kind of always wonder when the day the battery will kind of go out, but my Pokemon Yellow has all 151 Pokemon on it, and it's like, leaving it like that.
Yep.
It's just one of those ones, it was like, because that was like one of those kind of goals. Like, I mean, like, nowadays, like, there's just almost too many Pokemon. Like, I love catching Pokemon, but I could not imagine, like, maxing out my Pokemon and, Sword and Shield. Like, it's just like...
Not anymore. There's too much to do.
Yeah, they would just... I mean, like, granted, I'll say this, it's actually 10 times easier nowadays than it used to be. Like, because the olden days, like, unless you had, like, friends or certain Pokemon, be like, shit. If you didn't do the rare candy cheat or something like that, be like, oh, I have to go take this Pokemon and manually level it up. Because that's one thing, is like, nowadays, you don't have to manually level up any of those Pokemon anymore. So that almost makes it so much easier. Where back in the day, you, like, had to go out there and do hard labor to get that Pokemon going.
You did that, or you had to do the rare candy thing where you just find the unknown, it doubles, or like triples everything you have or whatever, and that just always seemed like cheating to me, so I never did that. But anyway, going back to this, they're going to Seafoam Island. They're just like, look, an ass sticking out of the sea. So that's literally what it fucking looks like.
Yeah.
And they're off to find Articuno. And I like how Misty's just like, you know what? Why don't you, like, you take my Gyarados, I'll take your Kingler. It'll be a free trade for a little while. Besides, I think you could use my Gyarados, and he likes you because you already caught him before. So yeah, good luck with that. And then when he gets there and he's trying to find the Articuno, that's where he's, of course, runs into Team Rocket again, and they're trying to capture it. And you realize they have this whole scheme of, like, well, ever since the whole Mewtwo, ever since the whole, like the Mew disc was taken from us, we can't finish cloning Mewtwo. So that's all fucked. So our new plan is the 3 legendary birds.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool concept, too. The fact it's like, oh, shit, Team Rocket's after those. And what I like is, this jumps a little bit ahead, is they capture all the legendary birds. Not Red, but Team Rocket's the one that gets them. And I was
well, he even helps, like, Articuno get away. Like, he's fighting a bunch of Rocket guys. And in the process, he was trying to, it's once again one of those things where he's trying to capture it, but he'd rather have Articuno get away than let Rocket get it, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and lets him kind of free. But in the long run, it's like the idea that Team Rocket grabs all 3 of them. I thought it was like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, I like the idea of that. I love the idea that, like, Team Rocket in this one has, like, almost legitimate scary power. Like, in the other ones, it more just feels like they're kind of, even in the game, they almost just kind of feel like, hey, we're trying to start something up, and then you just kind of come by and, like, kick them all in the dick, and then just like, you're like, yeah, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm 10 years old. What are you gonna do? Mm-hmm. But in this one, it's just like, it almost just like, I love the power that they sort of have, and the fact that, like, they're in so much control. Like, it's like Team Rocket's in, like, the gym leaders. It's like they're in, like, a lot of the cities and
probably
towns.
In politics too.
Yeah, politics. Like, they run, in a sense, they run Kanto.
Mm-hmm. And I like how when he gets to Cinnabar Island, he sees a bunch of more Rockets attacking Blaine. And Blaine knows who Red is. Like, you're the kid who's been kicking dirt in these assholes' eye. Come with me, And you find out that, once again, I didn't notice it the first time I read it, but you saw Blaine in the lab, and you realize that he gives all this exposition that he was one of the guys that was creating Mewtwo, and he was helping him, but then he realized, I can't work for Rocket no more. So they talk to him, so they basically treat him as if he's a traitor because he left Rocket. And then while he's on Cinnabar Island, they send a fucking Moltres after him. Like, they got a fucking Moltres. So from there, it becomes this whole, like, battle where he's trying to, they're just trying to basically survive right here. And this is where Ash had the, I want to say, like, Blaine, sends him to his lab or something. And that's just like, get to the lab, just hurry up and get to the lab. And that's where he gets to the lab, and he throws this, fossil in there. And that's where, wait, is it the lab or... No, it's not the lab. It's right in the middle of the battle. It's in the middle of the battle. His fossil... Oh, wait, no, his fossil falls out.
No, he goes to the lab on Cinnabar Island because Blaine, like, they do something. He's like, he's like, take my Rapidash. Trust me. He's like, well, you're a bad scientist. It's like, no, you'll get... Fucking turn off that shit. What was those last 10 pages? I was telling you about how I've given it up, I'm fighting the cause, and... Boy, you're just not listening.
But you look like Walter White. Bitch, Walter White took my look.
Here, take the fucking Rapidash, give me your Gyarados, I'll hold this fucking shit off, and you go get a bird Pokemon from somewhere. Okay, mister! And just fucking, oh jeez, I hope that... I hate the idea of putting the faith in a 10-year-old boy, but sometimes you just gotta.
In this world where our economy is based on children fighting monsters. and then that fossil he got back in the cave with Giovanni, the one that Giovanni actually gave him, ends up being the Aerodactyl, and it comes to life. And now this thing's part of his team, and he swoops in over there and helps Blaine fight off against Team Rocket.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's totally badass. Fucking comes in there, kicks ass. Then him and Blaine kind of escape and whatnot, get away from like the legendary birds.
And this is one of those things where, once again, like they're very much part of the fight. It's not just like, all right, let's settle this with a battle. It's like he's riding like Aerodactyl. They're part of it too. Like that's what I think is very interesting. Is the trainers are part of the fight.
Yeah, they're not just on the sidelines. It's like they really are involved much more and so on. And even like, you know, as it kind of goes up, well, there's a part comes up next where it's like even like the Pokemon even can use certain abilities on humans themselves and kind of change things around. So, I guess we'll get that when we get there. But then you get that part where it shows like Giovanni sitting there and he's got like yep, we captured all the legendary birds. You know, and even like I guess Lieutenant Surge must have captured Zapdos because he's standing there holding him.
and then because they have the thing like we already got them all, so where are we going from here? And Sabrina was watching, and then like the next issue, Blue is trying to get over to Silicon City or Celadon City, whatever it is.
No, Saffron City.
Saffron City, and first off, there's a force field around it, but also Team Rocket won't let you enter through the regular way. And
you gotta bring him lemonade.
Yeah, they don't bring that in there, but Green right there comes in and has a quick little fight with Blue, and then they realize that like out of that like oh hey like I want to say like Ash is heading back to Pallet Town for some reason, and out of that Professor Oak's all acting all crazy like what the fuck's this kid doing in my lab, and then gets attacked, and then you realize oh shit he's possessed, and no it's actually not Professor Oak. It's actually the Kadabra, Sabrina's Kadabra. And she's basically said, look, here's the thing. We captured nearly everybody in Pallet Town, and everyone in Pallet Town is going to die unless you come to Saffron City or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you join Team Rocket, something to that effect.
Oh, and then there's the other thing, too, I like kind of, it steps just, I think, a moment back, but with Blue's Pokemon, the Charizard's now, or it's evolved to a Charizard, just so that, I like how just kind of, like, it's not like a big deal, just like, it evolved to a Charizard, didn't have to see it happen, but I like how, like, it answers sort of, like, those kind of questions, like, almost like those game questions, you know what I mean? Because when you go to Saffron City, you're like, dude, what the fuck, why can't I just, like, fly in there? And, like, the game says, well, you can't fly there unless you've been there, but it is that sort of thing, like, the comic comes to answer that, and it's like, Blue goes to fly in there, and of course Green's up there in the air, and then the second before he runs to the force field, she's like, hey, wait a second, don't run into that, and there's a big old, like, psychic force field right there. It's like, oh, so you can't just fly in there either. And I think that just kind of makes it's like, man, it's like Team Rocket's got a psychic Pokemon that powerful that they can hold off the biggest city in Kanto.
Yeah. So from there, he realized Blue and Red have to work together, and that leads into the next volume.
Yeah, and they're like, yo, we gotta get fucking together and, like, go take on the Sabrina chick and whatnot. You know what's the weird thing I will say, though? Is, does Ash only have technically 3 badges by this point? I mean, I know he's beaten lots of these other gym leaders, but, like, it's not like they give him the badge, like, half the time.
I want to... Well...
Think about it. I think he only has 3 badges. Like, he doesn't have Lieutenant Surge's badge. He doesn't have Koga's badge.
I don't entirely remember, but I think that gets answered in the next volume. Because like I said, I read ahead because I didn't know we were going to do these for the podcast. So I want to say the next volume, that gets answered. I might be wrong, but I think they kind of cover it.
Okay, because that was like the one thing I was like, it's weird. Like he defeats it, and it's not like one of those ones, but it's almost like he forgets to fucking pick up his paycheck at the end of the day.
Yeah, dude, you forgot this. Oh fuck, yeah, that's the very reason I'm doing this. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought I'm like, man, because like if you think about it, like it's interesting because it goes in a different order than Pokemon the game goes. But once again, I like all that. Like I think by being different, it makes it sort of like you're going through the old story, yet it's super refreshing all at the same time. and it's almost kind of, you don't know what's going to happen next, though you're in like a familiar world. But it was one of the things about, like, man, they're close to the end of like the game, and he's only got like 3 badges, you know. I mean, it's better than, I guess, being like the other Pokemon comic where it's all of a sudden it's just like, and by the way, Ash got all 8 badges. Like, well, he had 3 in the last issue. Like, what the hell?
Don't worry about it. Just take our word for it.
Shit, you played the game, right? Yeah, I don't have to fucking answer these questions for you.
I'll say this: if sometime down the line, if they end up doing like, say, a like Netflix or Hulu or whatever ends up doing a Pokemon like live action series or something like that, because that seems what happens a lot of times. Like, they can't get this movie off the ground, so 7 or 8 years later they decide to turn it into a Netflix series or something, like, or HBO series or something. I think that if they do that with Pokemon, because who knows if another Pokemon movie's coming out, because Pikachu didn't perform like they hoped it would. Like, it did good, but it wasn't the money. It wasn't the Avengers money they're hoping for.
I love how that everybody sets their bar so fucking high. Like, you know, our movie's gonna be Avengers quality. It's like, at the end of the day, you almost just want to sit them down like a child. Just be like, no, shoot low. Remember the New Line Cinema philosophy back in the olden days? The guy would take a look at a movie and go, looks like a $20,000 movie. Here's $10,000. Go make it. You know what I mean? Like, great fucking philosophy. I love that. Like, you sort of shoot low.
It's like Blumhouse.
Yeah, like, you know, like nowadays, I guess they would be kind of like that. But, like, there's just that kind of thing. Like, and there's too many companies out there that I think they just they think they just got this like monster hit, and it's like, you're better off kind of just going like, you know, what if we shoot kind of low, and then if it is a monster hit, then that's just even better. You know what I mean? I think
it probably would have been a monster hit if it didn't come out literally a week after Endgame.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's like, because that's the thing is like, you gotta think about, like, the average person doesn't go and see a movie day one. You know what I mean?
Especially a movie called Detective Pikachu, not Pokemon. Detective Pikachu. A lot of people don't even know it's a spin-off game.
Well, yeah, but like, I'm saying that I was talking about Avengers, because the thing is that most people go like, well, I'll go see it 2 weeks from now. So when Detective Pikachu comes out, what's the movie that most people are still going to see? Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, only the hardcore movie people go and see it, like, you know, day 1, 2, and 3, and then are ready to see whatever movie comes out next week.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, I mean, I'm not sure if I kind of went on a different tangent there, but I was going to say, if that ends up happening with Pokemon, say they end up making like a series, like a live action series sometime down the line, or they do start doing movies again, I think they should pull heavily from this manga series.
Oh, I 100% agree there. I mean, like, even if they did, like, another sort of animated one, because they did that Pokemon Red series that's kind of like...
I think 4 issues.
Yeah,
4 episodes.
That's the only downfall. I think it's sort of based... I used to think it was based off sort of the other comic book, but I think it's based off this one. The downfall is it's almost like... They did it sort of like... They almost did that classic, like, okay, 1... 2, it's all going good. Shit, you gotta wrap this up. You only got 4 episodes. Yeah. What? Oh, okay. I guess we'll finish it up. Because that anime is like so fucking amazing, and I think it's actually really tough to find nowadays. I think it's one of those ones. Once it kind of disappeared, it sort of really disappeared. But it's such a bummer. I mean, I guess the best way to sort of look at it, if you look at it like it's a movie, it's not so bad by that standard. But it does just do the thing where it's like starts off good, and jumps ahead really quick.
Well, it's also why are we focusing on the Ghost Tower of everything? Okay, we're doing Ghost Tower, I guess.
Yeah,
but no.
Well, that felt like that was episode 3, and then it's like all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you only got 1 more episode.
Yeah. But no, this series, I look forward to doing the 3rd volume, and then I think there's. I started volume 4, but I took a break on it once I realized, we're going to be reading these for the podcast. Okay, so volume 3 we'll do, and then we'll just finish the Kanto region set. How many that is? I think it's 4 or 5.
Technically, there's 7 of them for Red and Blue.
Really? 7 of them? Okay.
Yeah, well, because when I was gonna buy the physical box set of this, and like, of course, fucking Amazon wasn't gonna ship, and I was like, well, never mind then. I guess I'll just get it digital then, if you're gonna be that way. And but yeah, it's 1 through 7 is red and blue, and then like the next 7 or 6 or whatever is like gold and silver and so on.
Okay. I wonder if 7. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of where I'm at and I'm thinking of where I'm at, what he's done, and what's left over. So I guess depending on how much you want to expand on Elite Four and Mewtwo, and maybe come back around to, I guess from there, I guess that could give you another volume or two. So yeah. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully this series keeps on staying good as it goes on.
I know this sounds so weird. Like when I'm reading this, I know we're only on like book 2, but it's like that thing where it's like I know there's like 29 volumes of these. I could almost if it stayed like this good the whole way through, I could even see myself going the whole distance. You know, I mean, who knows? It might kind of soften up as it goes on. It might not, catch you nearly as well with the later day volumes. Not saying that I probably could be into them. Hell, I love all the games. Doesn't make a difference. But if it all stayed like in this kind of like form and so on, and like this sort of like style and the kind of darker PG-13 Pokemon, I'm so sold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
As I said, it's one of those ones where it's like I kid you not, I've enjoyed this like 10 times more than like almost any Image comic or any even DC and Marvel comic that I've read in like the last while. Like it's surprising, like how much this is like, oh shit, this is fucking good.
Yeah. So next issue, sorry, we probably got to wrap this up. Audio's doing that Skype thing again. Anyway,
no, it must be your side.
Yeah, it's always just my side. Anyway, so we'll maybe get a chance to wrap this up, and we will be sure to do Volume 3 next time.
Sounds good. But till then, go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics like Pizza Boys, animations and all that fun stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comic Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comic Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunnigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again. We're out of here.